links to join the channel here over on Subscribestar. Thanks for everyone who has. So Velma part 3 and 4, failing upwards with Mindy Kaling. Yes, of course she'll fail upwards, but it'll probably take a year. The best thing she could possibly do would be to look at this thing honestly, and like everyone working on the show would just like get together and say, is there any way we can just take the L on this, cancel the show immediately, pull every episode off the air, try to memory hole it, just pretend it never happened, and just move on, go our separate ways, put it behind us as quickly as possible, put Mindy on another show, something she's good at, and like hopefully she learned a lesson from this. Except, you know, keep in mind, if you're of European descent, she hates you if you've seen all 4 of these episodes. So you really can't reward that kind of hatred. But also keep in mind she has like the 4 episodes came out, and the only people being made fun of are people of European descent. Like every single joke is against them, and she ignores the Black, Indian, Latin characters. And then you go Mindy Kaling's husband. So your husband is your blue-eyed husband, and you probably just hate bang your husband. So there's going to be more episodes coming out the next Thursday. I really doubt I'm going to review any more of them because it's all just kind of the same. It's just a 25-minute cat lady strewn joke show where European people get hatred, but if she ignores the Black, Indian, and Latin characters, are you unable to think of jokes at their expense? Because I could probably help you out there if you'd like. How dare you imply that you'd make jokes against those people? But you're like totally a-okay with making jokes against people of European descent. I mean, one of the jokes in there doesn't even make sense. She goes, I want to be white so I can get away with murder. And like the follow-up joke should obviously been, her sidekick should have been, oh, like O.J. Simpson's. Like that was the obvious something follow-up to take the wind out of her sails. But they didn't go for it. It's like, she just put this joke out there. It's like, that the only way that works is if you have some straw man universe where everyone is on board with you. It's like even people on the left are watching that, and immediately OJ pops into their head. It's like your jokes don't make any sense. It's like, even people on Twitter who are on the left, like other POC people are going like, yeah, your joke. None of the jokes are landing. They watched the whole thing with a straight face. So what it is a show where she plays Velma. It's a character from Scooby-Doo, but without Scooby, which is the Great Dane from the cartoon from 50 years ago. Like Black Panther without Black Panther. And Mindy plays herself, which is a Indian anti-white racist and misandrist. So that's a whole lot of fun. What's the show about? It's cringy meta humor where she lectures the audience on TV tropes and feminism or something. Except nobody cares about feminism. Feminism sort of died in 2016 when Trump got elected. And then all the feminists, like it really did. It was peaking in about 2014, 2015. It was so cringy too. And then Trump got elected, and everyone on the left who had that kind of energy, it took all the wind out of like the Zoe Sarkeesians and Quinns and feminist frequency. It took all the energy away from that, and it went all into Trump. And then when feminism would have started to make a natural comeback, the trans issue came up. And that became kind of a weird wedge issue where now feminism had to go, okay, well, we're so left-wing, we're going to include the trans in our movement. And then you had a group of feminists who were like, oh, this isn't really what we signed up for. So now you have a wedge issue. They're fighting about that too. So feminism on a whole just kind of lost like almost all of its power. Now I think the big issue for the left is like trans something. Like they're always talking about like trans rights. I'm not sure what rights they're advocating for, what rights they don't have. But I mean, best of luck with that one. And anything that causes them to further divide and fight it's fun to sit back with popcorn and kind of watch. So it just kind of seems sad that feminists turn their angry single women who scared all their boyfriends away. It's in fact like feminists are. I just saw an article where the feminists write an article about how men should be dating feminist women. And it's weird when you have to sell yourself like that, like to write an article to convince guys. It's like, shouldn't you just not be feminist? I mean, isn't clearly the feminism is the problem? Like the men are right because they're the men. They control marriage. If feminism is getting in the way of you getting married, then clearly feminism is the issue. It's just not that important. The most important thing in most people's lives is going to be, getting married and having kids and starting a stable family. It's like if I was a chick, I'd just throw feminism. I'd be like, okay, well, this is in the way of me starting a family. It's like out the window this goes. Let's start having kids. Anyway, so the whole show is about how much she hates European people and how smart non-European people are. Which that's another trope you see in comics and movies. It's like so all these like every Pox character is going to be a purse puppy, like just a Shuri super genius character. Yeah, that's right, every single one. Okay, that's I mean it's like if you see it and you kind of it's like it kind of takes away the willing suspension of disbelief when you can look at character skin tone and you can judge like how a left winger will portray people for like moral good and intelligence and competence. Like literally, the darker the skin tone, the better the characteristics are going to be in Hollywood and in comics. It's like seems kind of racist. Yeah. Oh wait, are you saying the left wing was the istophobes the whole time? Yeah, people have been saying that for a very long time, and people like the middle ground has just had their fingers in the ear, like we're not listening to you. We don't want to change our mind on this. So she hates European people, especially blonde people. Obviously, obviously she's jealous, and who can blame her? Blonde people are better people, and the left wing believes that. Mindy Kaling believes that herself. Like the left wing is weird because the whole Untermensch and Ubermensch concept, that's all left wing projection. Like they really are fixated. They treat blonde people like they're gods. It's so freaking bizarre. And then red haired people kind of confuse them, but I mean, thank God they just erase them from all the shows and replace them usually with African people. So the show has many black characters, but the main antagonists are blonde. And actually, if there's a gang of like the pretty girls, it'll be like I guess black and Latin characters, but they'll be led by a beautiful blonde girl who has to be the tip of the spear, so she can get like so she can be portrayed as the antagonist who's going back and forth with Mindy. They wouldn't want to have a black girl or a Latin girl going back and forth with Mindy to be the protagonist and the antagonist, because then you have two Pox Walks chicks who are going back and forth. So essentially in the cartoon, the blonde girl is the leader of the black and Latin girls. And it's kind of like you go watch episodes 3 and 4. You can find them on Solar. So the black characters kind of like they say they hate the blonde god characters, but in the cartoon they also look up to them, follow them around, and idealize them because the blonde girls are the leader of all these POC girls, which is like they're so woke. They're getting into this weird corkscrew. It's not even horseshoe anymore. It's like they just don't know where to go with it because they can't make it just a big group of like blonde and red haired girls. They have to make it diverse, but then they also have to make them bad guys too, so they make the blonde be the leader. It's like, but now the blonde is the leader of all these dark haired girls who are portrayed as Pox Walks girls. It's like they just tie themselves in these bizarre knots, these Gordian knots. It's like I know what you're trying to say. You just hate European people, especially blonde people. It's like that should just be a like a trailer across the bottom of the screen about how much Mindy hates blonde people, even though she's married to a blue-eyed guy. So Mindy has some deep issues with northern Western European people. Like she has issues and back issues. And the funny thing about these left-wing racists is they have issues that like even the right wing, like the Hugo Boss people, are not as focused on ethnicity and tribalism as these left-wing people are. Like this incessant just grinding an axe about their fascination with blonde people. Like people on the far right, almost said don't hold up the blonde people as these sort of gods. They just view them as like, oh yeah, they're just people from Europe. Blonde hair, red hair, brown hair. There's even black haired people in Europe. Yes. Why does the left hold them up as gods? Oh, because Hollywood. Okay, but we're not Hollywood. We don't pull the strings on Hollywood. You're gonna have to look at like, well, why does Hollywood do that to blonde people? That's another video and not one that's gonna be on YouTube. So it's funny that some of the stuff in the show is already out of date. They have the girls do a self-defense class because something toxic masculinity. It's so stupid. I mean, it's just stupid on top of stupid. Like you watch it and I can't roll my eyes anymore. If you watch it with someone, you'll be like you'll just be pausing this like, this is so stupid. Looking back for like, yes, this really is that stupid. So the thing is, they don't have any trans girls or non-binary people in the show, which is very problematic in this day and age if you don't have trans representation. I mean, I say that from their perspective, obviously. It makes Mindy Kaling basically the Austrian corporal. And one point I wanted to make is there's a scene where Velma tricks Fred into reading some book by some feminist writer. First of all, and he's so stupid, he thinks it's a book about the X-Men or something. Mystique from, I don't know. Men don't read books by women because women are bad writers. It doesn't even work as a joke because women can only write for other women. Maybe a few soy boys will pretend that they'll put the books on the shelf so when they take a picture of themselves, they have their bookshelves. You know, like it's funny that people do this stuff on Twitter. It's like their bookshelves are always perfect. They're all like dust free, and they'll have a couple books that'll be like facing the shelf. I look at my bookshelf now. I do that too, but it's like, you know, I'm not going to use it in a photograph. You look at these books and they'll have like perfect spines, and you're like, yeah, okay, dude, this feels like it's just a prop because it is a prop. Where is it going with this? Men don't read books by women. Like the correlation between women writers and women readers is got to be almost 100%. So she tries to trick Fred into reading some kind of book. Literally, most normal guys will read the first pages of something written by a woman, and they'll get so angry they'll throw the book across the room because that's how bad they write. No offense. The short version of this is and like I know there's no women listening to this. This is the worst, most racist anti-white messenger show I've ever seen 4 episodes of, and no, I can't imagine that anyone else is bothering to review it. Not even Thorius Unlimited, who sat through all of Batwoman. Which, to be fair, Batwoman I think was even worse than this. At least this was short. And it's like, this is like a transmission that's just not quite meshing the gears. You can see where all the jokes almost could have landed if you just took out your just bizarre anti-white hatred. Like if you just got rid of the like the Mary Sue BuzzFeed type of like 2016 I'm so angry at the world, blue-haired feminist type of stuff, and just made it a show about, I don't know, Scooby-Doo. I mean, it's called Scooby-Doo. It's like, okay, even if you want to get rid of the dog, it's like, you don't understand the characters in the show. They all were friends. They all brought something different to the table. You're just a hate-filled racist bigot who just hates, well, mainly European people, but probably also yourself because of the way you portray yourself in the show, and then who your husband is in real life. I mean, it's pretty weird. And the thing is, it's weird that everyone hates this. It's kind of like the opposite of wrestling, in case you don't follow it. Both the left and the right like professional wrestling for some reason. Probably because it's just so ridiculous. It doesn't. It's like it didn't at least used to be political. I don't know if it is now, but everyone kind of likes professional wrestling, and everyone hates Velma and Mindy Kaling too, because now they're going through her past and they're digging up all this stuff that she'd done in the past, and she said something where she had like sexually assaulted somebody on a TV show, and then she's laughing about it, and then threatened to fire people if they reported her. Like, that's weird to say, even when that came out like 5 or 6 years ago. That's something that like she has purse puppy Pox walks privilege. That's something only a privileged Pox can say, and she got away with it, and she's continued to get away with it simply because the color of her skin provides a shield for her. So the left hates it because it's so over the top. It feels like a parody, except the people who wrote it are soy people and cat ladies. So it's not funny. Everything is just shoehorned in. You can make a joke about the beautiful people of the light if you want, but you also have to make fun of the black, Indian, and Mexican characters to show that you're being fair and that you're just not a racist against European people. If you ignore every group and you single out European people for like a dozen jokes across 4 episodes, it becomes very obvious that you're grinding an axe. And then when you look at Mindy Kaling and you look at her presentation, you know, IRL, and then her obsession with the beautiful blonde people of the light, it all makes sense. She's jealous. And it's funny because in the show, she's like flicking her bean to the blonde-haired Fred character. And then you look at her husband in real life, it's like some blue-eyed guy. It's like, you have issues. You have some serious issues. It's the weird sexualization and hatred of European people. It's like, do you wish you were something else? You know, accept yourself, and you probably will stop hating other people just for being looking different than you. It makes for a dumb show. And like, you're telling me that you really couldn't find jokes to make fun of black, Indian, and Latin characters. I think, yeah, people would have lost their minds on Twitter, but they kind of would have understood it because you're making fun of European people. It's like the South Park method where you start by making fun of Christians and like safe targets, and then you start branching out into you know, other characters, other groups, and then the left is in a position of like, well, we didn't defend European people or Christians or men, so now we can't suddenly raise our hand and say, oh, hey, but you can make fun of those groups, can't make fun of other groups. It's like, what makes you look hypocritical, and it washes away your foundation. So like the first episode, like she could have done that in this show also, but she didn't. It's like it's just one group of people she's making fun of, and she treats all the other groups like purse puppies. And like, she just goes after these fair, beautiful. Why is she so jealous of European people? It's weird. The whole show is weird. It doesn't click with the right. It doesn't click with the left. It's like it's just cringe, corny, and tired. It feels like what it is. It feels like a 40-year-old cat lady is writing something that feels like it should have been set in 2015, where she would have been, I don't know, like a 28-year-old. No, more like a 24-year-old BuzzFeed writer or Mary Sue writer who's still trying to do like the oh so random stuff, and she kind of still thinks, oh well, man, I've got like 10 years to find a husband, and now it's like just at this point where it just never happened, and it's just kind of dark and angry. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.